Welcome to the Scottsdale Vibes podcast. I'm your host, Alicia Haygood. I hope everyone is excited to be back in school, back in routine. I know I am. My kids had a great summer. We traveled, saw family and friends, but it is nice to be back in school and have someone else take care of them from 8:30 to 3:30. I'm so excited to introduce you today to Blake Rhodes. He's actually an SUSD teacher, and he has this great organization we're going to talk about. But in the meantime, I want to start with my favorite State Farm agent, Jeremy Mueller. Jeremy, how has your summer been? It's been a while since we caught up.
Yeah, summer's been awesome. I can't believe school's starting up and how warm it is here. So summer was great, flew by, and
Always.
I just cannot believe it's the school year already.
I know. I totally agree. I was watching the news, and we were laughing because it was like, I just remember picking up the kids from the last day of school, and here we are like in school for 2 weeks already at this point. So I'm happy. I'm sure you're happy too. And I personally think the kids are happier in school because it gives them something to do. They get to be with their friends, and I'm not responsible for feeding them 50 million snacks and coming up with an I'm bored activity.
Right. Throwing an iPad at them type thing.
Yeah, 100%. Well, listen, you have kids. We've talked about this before, and I really want to talk to you about the importance of like extracurricular activities for the kids and finding something important for them to have, a community to be a part of, right? And Blake Rhodes started this great organization for skateboards where he really gets old parts and forms skateboards for kids who don't have the luxury or the means to have one. So talk to me, Jeremy, about what, the importance of that community aspect for kids to have a sport or something, any activity for them to be a part of.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. What's funny is like I'm feeling old, right? Because when we were growing up, skateboarding was like, why are you skateboarding? Now we're like, you guys need to skateboard. So
right.
I love how that's come full circle and we're making skateboarding cool again.
I totally agree. Well, I heard you had a part, talking about being a part of something. There was a stage of your life where I believe that you were like a t-ball coach at one point or something.
Gosh, wow. Yeah. You do your research, Scottsdale Live. Yeah, I was. I was T-ball, a kid pitch coach. I was, when your kids are growing up, you want to try to be a part of that. And, at the time, my son was into baseball, and it was a fun period. I mean, it went a lot of long Saturday mornings, but God, do I miss them right now. I mean, it's just so different. So those younger parents, it does go by quick.
I know. They say like it's slow during the day and then you look back and it's in a blink of an eye and that day is gone kind of thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Days are long, months are short.
Yep. So tell me like what are some things that your kids have gotten involved in and what are you like a part of with them and stuff like that?
Yeah, so I think it really depends on the kid, right? Like there are some kids that are more involved in doing extracurricular like Lego club or something like that. My kids were never into that stuff. So it took a while to find stuff. Baseball, golf. What's funny is just the fitness aspect of everything has kind of come in with my oldest. So he's more into just, working out, watching what he eats, protein shakes, all the deal, which I love. And then my youngest just kind of fell into volleyball. With Scottsdale, we have this great, Victorium Center up by us that is fantastic for girls volleyball. They just do such a good job.
I love that. That's awesome. I was the person that growing up had no athletic ability. So I was kind of like your son. I just kind of got into like living a healthy lifestyle. But there were times talking about your youngest in volleyball. I would be the target of the volleyball. Like I could never. It must be my hand-eye coordination does not click at some point because I'm just not good at it.
Yeah, well, I think the options are. I mean, a lot of stuff costs more money now, but the options are there for kids, especially in Scottsdale where we didn't. I mean, the idea that you can go ice skating in Scottsdale, so foreign to me. Like that was just not something Arizona kids ever would even dream of participating in.
That's a really valid point. You're right. You and I did not have the options that our kids have today and the availability and all the different things that are out there. It was really, you had to play, baseball, basketball, soccer, volleyball, tennis, and track and field were like our only options. And that wasn't even until you got to high school. Now they have clubs in elementary school, middle school to really kind of figure out what these kids are interested in, start them earlier, which I think is great.
Exactly. And a lot of them are indoors, whereas we were outdoors. So here's the basketball, go to the park, and it's even though it's 117 out. So there's no excuse, right?
I totally
The
agree.
kids have options right now.
I love that. I love that. It's totally true. Speaking of kids and bringing in, your talented skills of the insurance industry, I want to talk really quick about, the importance of like life insurance on our parents to take care of ourselves and our children. We just kind of did that, my family, with you recently. Give me some advice to tell our listeners, because we really want to make sure everyone's taken care of, not just your car and audio and house insurance, I should say.
Yeah, great point. The life insurance is the one thing everyone eventually will need. I mean, it's a certainty, and so how you pass on is you can be very, very strategic if you take emotion out of it, and make sure that your kids, make sure that your parents are not set. They'll never be set, but at least they can get by. And I mean, there's some really good options. So I do encourage listeners, if you have any questions, no pressure at all, just education only, give us a call. We'd love to go over that with you.
I love that. And that's so true. Jeremy is so easy to talk to. Anyone in his team, I've worked with many members on his team, and it's just, here's the information. Let me ask you what I can do. Ask me what I can do for you. And you're not a high pressure person, which is great. All right, Jeremy, go be with your kids. Go sit them outside while we enjoyed the indoor air conditioning. We did our time as children. I feel like we've suffered. It's their turn. And stay safe, and congratulations on getting the kids back to school and giving someone else the responsibility for the day.
Thanks, Alicia.
All right, have a good one. Stay tuned. When we come back, we'll have Blake Rhodes. When it comes to protecting you, your family, and all your assets, you need to have someone that you can trust. And that's Jeremy Mueller of State Farm Insurance. Jeremy Mueller has lived in Scottsdale his whole life. How can anyone else know your needs more than someone who's been here and seen it all? Jeremy and his team are always ranked in the top % at State Farm. He cares, he's knowledgeable, and most importantly, he's always available. Don't believe me? Give him a call at 480-515-5223 or find him at jeremymueller.com. Blake Rhodes grew up here in Scottsdale. He went on to join the Navy before coming back home, where he's now an elementary school teacher here in our district. It was when he was in elementary school that his dad got him into skateboarding. As Blake grew into adulthood, skateboarding went away, and it wasn't until he became a father himself that the skateboard made an appearance. His older son saw the dusty old skateboards in the garage and asked to go for a ride. And it wasn't long after that Skate It Forward Phoenix went from an idea to reality. So Blake, I'm so excited to share this story with Scottsdale and our community, because I think it just goes to show so many things: what community means, what helping means, what being a father means, and what kids can do to influence us as adults to be better people. So let's just talk about little boy Blake as the beginning. You know Scottsdale all too well. You grew up here. So tell me, Blake, what skateboarding was to you as a kid here in Scottsdale.
Well, thank you for having me, Alicia. And an amazing introduction. So thank you very much. Skateboarding for me as a youth was definitely a means of bonding, with my dad back then. But as I kind of grew into the teenage years, it was basically what me and my friends did day in and day out. Mm-hmm. Our social lives kind of revolved around it and everything like that. And I basically stopped halfway through high school because, girls and other interests kind of took over. And then
there's some skateboarding chicks. I don't know how popular they were all growing up, but I've seen some out there nowadays.
Absolutely. But for me personally, it kind of faded off. And then once I joined the military and everything, it was something that kind of hit the back burner. And like you had mentioned, it wasn't until my son Tyler really started showing interest and kept pointing at my skateboard up in the garage and asked, hey, is this something that you still want to show me how to do? And once we would go out to the skate parks and I kind of showed him the basics, it got me wrapped back up into it. And ever since then, it's been a whirlwind adventure with Skate It Forward Phoenix.
Is it one of those things like a bike where you could get back on, and the only word I know is an ollie? I don't even know what it is, but I know it's a skateboarding word. Could you pick it back up?
Yeah, absolutely. It was funny because there's different avenues of skateboarding where there's a street culture scene, there's a vert scene, there's kind of an underground culture when it comes to bowl skating. And when me and my friends were younger, we were so focused on, street skating that I never really got into bowl skating or vert skating. And now as an adult, being older, having a job that I know I'm going to have to wake up for and go actually like be able to get through the workday. I've approached skateboarding differently almost as an adult. So it's kind of relearning skateboarding in a whole new sense because of my interest now as an adult versus my interest as a teenager and as a kid.
Interesting. That makes sense. So, and I mean, I don't know about you, but as an adult, I have to be more cautious of what I do with my body. Like it doesn't heal as quickly and fast.
Absolutely. I went yesterday and I hurt my groin, so I'm going to be out for the next week or so.
Well, let's kind of talk about that. You're not much younger than me, Blake. We're kind of in the same age demographic, but I know growing up, we didn't have as many extracurricular activities to do. It was sports, was basically it. And while skateboarding absolutely is a sport, it wasn't something that we could gravitate towards. So as a kid, a father, and a teacher in this community, what can skateboarding do for a child?
I think just like anything else, you need to have the right mentors and the right direction when you enter it, because just like any subculture, it can have positive outlets and it can have negative outlets. And a lot of the negative outlets in skateboarding revolve around like the drugs and the drinking scenes that have become associated with it. But there's also a whole nother avenue. I mean, the fact that the Olympics have encompassed skateboarding and as a positive means of creating youth development programs and everything, it's just a different shift. And even within the skateboarding community itself, there is still a divide. Like some people cringe so hard when they hear skateboarding being used as like a sport instead of just like an art form. So it's individualistic in the sense that it's all your interpretation of how you see skateboarding, whether it's more artistic and personal representation, or is it more mainstream now and, more sports oriented?
Yeah.
But the beauty of it is that you can still have both of those and they can still coexist together.
And a couple of things to go with that. The drugs and drinking, that's not conducive to skateboarding. We had a ton of athletes in my high school growing up that got in trouble for that were not skateboarders.
Absolutely.
And I think that goes to show it really is the people you hang out with. It doesn't matter what you're doing in that sense. We grew up with Tony Hawk was like the only skateboarder that you knew, right? And then Shaun White came about and all that kind of thing. Now you talk about the Olympics. I mean, was it a Japanese guy won last year or 4 years ago, won gold or something? I mean, like it is crazy what this sport has done. And it's an international sport. I think it's also a way you don't have to speak the same language, but can go out there and have fun together and make friends that way, And I think
exactly.
That's a lot about the way we communicate can be through something like this.
Yeah, skateboarding is very unique. Professional skateboarder Rodney Mullen actually put it that skateboarding itself is its own language. That you could have two skateboarders at a skate spot and they could do tricks and not even actually have to say anything, but just based off of foot placement, rotational like flips of flip tricks or whatever they're doing with their boards, they can actually understand what each other are doing based off of those movements. So it's really cool in that aspect too.
I love that. Isn't that cool? This is something I learned from talking to you. So you learned at the skate part what the word earning means. Now, earning can mean everything in different situations. So tell me what earning in skateboarding means.
So long story short, it's essentially if there is a kid there that, doesn't have the family financial support of getting his own skateboard put together from his family or from relatives, earning is essentially the concept of people asking to borrow somebody's board. That person being like, all right, I want you to essentially, what do you want to learn? We'll use the hypothetical situation as a kid, and maybe it's just learning how to push. So keeping one foot on the board and pushing their other foot to simply be able to create movement and ride, put their non-board foot back onto the board and actually learn how to ride. That would be, say, like step one. That person who let that person borrow the board would be like, hey, awesome. Like I have an old set of wheels and everything. And next time I see you, I'll put them in the car and I'll bring them to the skate park and they're all yours. You can have them to put together a board. And that continuation of just borrowing other people's stuff to learn how to skateboard and showing genuine interest in the fact that this isn't just like, oh, I'm here one day, like, let me borrow your skateboard just to try for 5 minutes and then I'm never going to get on a skateboard again. Earning was a concept that has been around since the 70s, the 80s. that if you're willing to put in the time and the effort, the blood, sweat, and tears to actually learn how to skateboard and put yourself through it, that you've earned the right to have stuff given to you.
I love that. But you can use that in any kind of valuable lesson in life, but it goes
100%.
to that community and the sharing aspect. So you see this with your son, you're at a skate park and you see a kid trying to earn. Tell me how earning, when you were witnessing it as an adult with your son, kind of turned it into the Skate It Forward Phoenix, and tell me what Skate It Forward Phoenix is all about.
Well, that's an excellent question. So the whole process of watching this young man kind of put together his board was really cool, because you could tell like his family was never at the skate park with him, but he was just so invested and so in love with skateboarding that you could see the passion coming out whenever he was borrowing somebody's board. You could tell he was truly like in a happy place when he was skateboarding. And it wasn't until we were at the skate park one day, he showed up and he didn't have his board with him. And we had just learned like, hey, a couple weeks ago, he had finally put it all together. But he told me that day it actually snapped on him. So he was back to like square one. And I was just like, well, hey, man, like I've got a couple boards. Like I know like how invested you are and how much this means to you. Like I have a old board just collecting dust in the garage. Like why don't I'll toss it in the car and everything. And like it's yours next time I see you. But it was one of those ideas that like as the whole process like kind of continued out and just leading up to the moment of like when I saw him again, like I wonder how many other like just like old middle-aged individuals still like have jobs, like buying a skateboard or a skateboard deck like isn't too concerning. And a skateboard in general costs almost $200 from like wheels, trucks, bearings, all the hardware, the grip tape. So it's not just like, hey, I'm going to go spend $30 to get a skateboard. It's actually like a decent chunk of change that unless you have a job, even as a teenager, like that's
a lot of money.
Right for a Taco Bell or something, like you're stashing some paychecks. And so leading up to it, it was just something that would keep me up at night. I'm like, there's got to be like something like more to this. And it was just an idea that, like I said, would keep me up at night. And my wife, Jenny, was like, well, it's kind of like paying it forward, you know, in a sense, like it's already paid for, but you're just giving like skateboard equipment to other people. And she's the one that came up with the idea of like, well, if it's like paying it forward, why don't you like consider like Skate It Forward? And that's kind of how we actually came up with the name of everything. So I give Jenny all the credit for that.
Isn't it funny how that happens? Like, just skate it forward. You're like, that's it. That the light bulb goes off.
Yeah, exactly. And so we came up with a logo. We came up with a design, and in that whole time period, ended up capturing the moment in photos and everything, and it kind of hit the ground running. And we weren't sure like if it would really take off because earning has been around in skateboarding, so it wasn't anything new. But there was never like a central hub. Sidewalk Surfer skate shop down in South Scottsdale, they have like a used collection bins site. Cowtown skateboard shops all around the valley, they do similar things where they have like spots where you can take broken boards or old boards and donate them. But there was never like an official spot where people could reach out to somebody, ask for a certain, like if I need wheels or bearings or a deck, grip tape. So it created a central location for people to donate their old stuff, or people to feel comfortable enough with no questions asked, no judgment, like, hey, I'm in need of this. And there's no judgment or anything like that. It's just, we don't ask questions. People have times of need of help and support. And that's kind of our mission, is to give that judge-free zone. And the skateboarding community here in Arizona and Phoenix and Scottsdale is amazing. We have people doing incredible things day in and day out. So it's been really cool to have this idea come from just one certain earning situation and let it kind of blow up and develop into what it has today.
So it really is like people just getting a hold of you guys and saying like, hey, I need some wheels or anything like that. And yes, it's like still earning it. Cause I mean, for a kid to ask for something can take a lot of guts for them, right? Like,
100%. It has been like awkward in the sense that for some kids, like we have an Instagram page that we use as like our go-to like communication and direct messaging and everything like that. But like you just mentioned, like in the day and age in social media where you don't know like who is going to show up at your door or anything like that. That's why we've tried to make it as seamless as possible to like meet up at local skate parks in like an area where it's friendly, people are around, so that there is no like uncomfortable feelings. But like you said, like it's definitely taking a lot of courage for people to ask for help and go out.
Well, and then like you said too, like you just said, meeting them at that skate park, like you get to see them when they get with that part, and you get to see them be on their boards, you know, and what they're able to do and how that just changed them, you know.
Yeah. I mean, it's a whole cycle, and the whole concept of trying to track a journey of like getting a board donated to us, we would try to always get a picture with people donating their used stuff so that it kind of becomes chronological, that we can see where the stuff came from and then where it actually ended up going to. And you can see the journey of the actual skateboards and how it's passed along from one person to the next.
Listen, I just from a wife's perspective, was your wife like, yeah, we got some dusty old parts that I would be more than happy to like open up to you?
I think originally, yes, but then when we got more and more stuff donated in, she kind of realized like, oh, wait, maybe this is
not the direction we were going in.
No, Jenny 100%, like with the aspect of, you know, 90% of the time, like our kids are along Tyler, Cooper, and they're seeing like the passing along, the donation side of it. So they're able to see the generosity side and also the giving side, and just how like appreciative a lot of people are in those situations. So as parents, that's been really rewarding for us too.
Yeah. That's what brings tears to my eyes. It's when that like light bulb clicks with the kids, you know, and you're like, they get it and they feel it and they see it and you're like, all right, I did a good job. Like it's working, you know?
Yeah. And it creates a sense of like reality for our own children. And just, it's been, it opens conversation to things such as like finances with your kids when you're actually like trying to relate to them. Why are we driving 45 minutes to give somebody something else that, you know, they don't really understand that concept yet, especially at 3, 4, 5 years old. So in that regards, it's been beneficial to kind of open their eyes and pull the lid back of how the world can work and the good of it.
I love that. Listen, let's take a short break and let's talk more about what you've done in the short 2 years and what we can continue to do to fill up your garage and make your wife happier.
Fantastic.
When it comes to family-friendly dentistry, there's only one place in Scottsdale, and that's Arizona Center for Laser Dentistry. Teeth cleaning, innovative, pain-free laser dentistry, teeth whitening, root canals, and really any dental need you may have, Dr. Rob and his staff at Arizona Center for Laser Dentistry can handle it all. They're more than just a dentist, they really are family. We've been going there for over 3 years, and my family loves them. When your kids get excited to go to the dentist, you know you've got a good one. Dr. Rob DeVito is the only dentist in town that can handle it all. Give him a call at 480-990-1905. You can find him on the web at drdevito.com. And don't forget to tell him you heard him on the podcast. We're sitting here with Blake Rhodes talking about Skate It Forward, this amazing organization that's helping kids get skate parts for those that may not be able to afford it. And like Blake just taught me, skateboarding is not cheap. So like for anyone to be a skateboarder takes time, it takes money, and it takes an effort. And this is what Skate It Forward does. So Blake, you were celebrating 2 years of being, I don't want to say in business, but like being an organization kind of. What has been your biggest accomplishment, you think, in the 2 years that you've been in? Like, what's your biggest surprise that has happened?
Biggest surprise is just the amazing people that we come across whenever we have donations or we're giving a donation to somebody. And just seeing how an entire community kind of has come together within the Phoenix, Scottsdale, the Arizona skateboarding community, and how involved people can be and just how passionate everyone is and how supportive everyone has been. It's led to multiple opportunities to collaborate with local companies, Cowtown Skate, Uncle Skate, which is a nonprofit organization. Every November, we actually get to do at a foster care facility out in Mesa called Sunshine Acres. They house up to 75 kids going through the system every year, and they actually have a skate park on the facility, on the grounds. And so every November, a person now named Amy Guerrero, about 7 years ago, started trying to make it every November that any kid that was going through Sunshine Acres had the opportunity to have a skateboard to use at the skate park on the facilities. Just as a positive outlet, it was something that they could take as their own. And just being able to see those kids' reactions, and whether they'd been there maybe a day, a week, or they'd been there a couple of years, just kind of finding their own journey through the foster care facilities and the system, just how truly appreciative those individuals are of being given something that they can call their own and having it so that they can use it there. It's really cool.
It goes back to what you just said earlier. It's perspective. Sometimes we forget, how good we have it sometimes, or how easy and available certain things are to us. And when you go into these places and you see these people like, oh, this is so easy for me to give this to you, how it fulfills you and that person receiving it on both ends. And it sounds like that's what you're getting a lot of right now.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we couldn't do what we do at Skate It Forward Phoenix without the help and assistance of people who have the skateboarding equipment to donate it to us, to entrust us in finding that equipment safe, good, positive home, so that they know that their stuff is going to continue to be skated and used properly.
Well, that leads me right into my next question. What can we do for you? Where can we send this stuff? How do we find you? How do we find the needs? Like, tell me what we can do for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. We do everything on Instagram. Our handle is Skate It Forward Phoenix. Yeah, you can send us a direct message. We actually just started taking boards that were like too far past being able to be repaired and actually upcycling them and going down that rabbit hole of getting into the recycled skateboard, like woodworking industry. There was a study done by Virginia Tech back in 2018 that found that on average, about 2 million skateboards were being sent to landfills around just the United States. You don't take into the entire globe. So it's just a whole nother area in which an industry has kind of been made through broken skateboards as a means to create a more sustainable outlet, reuse everything and still get it back out into the community, because the people who donate it to us, they're giving it to us with the intention of having it back out into the community. And so we've learned to make skateboard rings, skateboard necklaces, phone charging stations, bracelets, all this stuff. So,
and do you sell that, and where does that money go towards?
Yeah, no, thank you for segueing into that. So what we do with those sales is that we can then take that money and buy new unused skateboard trucks, wheels, bearings. We normally try to funnel into areas in which, like, in terms of like inventory or logistics, like say we have a ton of skateboards that we've been getting, but we haven't been getting wheels or trucks. We'll try to then take that money and buy the things that we're short on as far as our inventory, so that if somebody should reach out to us and say, hey, I broke my only pair of trucks, and trucks run about $75 to $90 for a brand new set, depending on the company and quality, that we could then pass it along to them.
So you were starting to get rid of stuff. Now you've added stuff back to your garage. Now you're building stuff in your garage. You're going to need like a separate location for Skate It Forward. And eventually is what I'm hearing come along.
Eventually. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see where the journey takes us.
You're also going to skate parks and helping them do reopens and helping them, become a place to gather, a safe place for these kids and stuff like that. You're not just keeping it within the boards. Talk about how you're bringing the community together as well.
I would be amiss to say that it's just us. It is 100% a community effort. There are so many other individuals and people involved that we are just a very small part of the grand scheme of things. For instance, the grand reopening that just took place in Fountain Hills, that was led by an individual named Caleb Dastinger, who owns Brilliant Victory Skateboards. His journey and his story alone would be worth a novel. It's a truly inspirational story of what he has going on. But he spearheaded the event because last couple of years, he started doing a after-school program at their skate park. And it was a very tiny skate park, but the city saw what it was doing for the kids in the community, and the Parks and Rec department actually were allocated almost $6 million. I could be off a couple million, but they did a phenomenal job, and we were invited to be a part of that grand reopening and be out there and everything like that. So it's just a humbling experience to be included in what everyone is doing around the valley. Cowtown Skate, they have a nonprofit that it was just a skateboard shop that they eventually were able to create a nonprofit organization, and they do something where kids can actually turn in their used boards at these pop-up events that they do, and then they are given brand new skateboards that the skate shop actually makes and has on hand for them. So there's a ton of people doing amazing stuff all around the valley. In Scottsdale, Sidewalk Surfer is about to do an event at the KTR Scottsdale in August. I'll give them a little plug with that. But it's just everyone in the community wants to help support and create a positive outlook for the community.
I love it. Well, you do that as being a father, a teacher in our community. I know school's starting this week for you. So congratulations. Welcome back. And thank you for coming back, because I'm done with my children. It's a lot of time together when I'm not used to it. It just goes to show that your passion really is focused on this next generation, Blake, and that, we need more people like you. So thank you for doing what you're doing.
Thank you, Alicia.
Before we leave, you are a Scottsdale native. You graduated from here. What is your favorite Scottsdale vibe?
My favorite Scottsdale vibe right now is I'm going to stay loyal to South Scottsdale and the Wedge and El Dorado Park. Okay. I know El Dorado Park and Sidewalk Surfer, they are actually in the works of trying to get a huge tarp covering. Tarp's the wrong terminology to use, but basically try to create a more shaded area over the skate park, which has been there for almost 25, 30 years now. That just started from a little bank under the bridge out there. But the renovations that they're doing to El Dorado Park and the community out there, if you were to ever go to that skate park, it's an open skate park. It's not gated. It's one of the few that we have in the Phoenix area that is just open. There is no enclosure to it. And you can basically skate it 24/7 if you feel like skating in the dark in the middle of the night. But it's a very welcoming community. Everyone out there is always nice. But at the same time, be prepared. Just like anywhere else, you'll see the good, the bad, and the ugly. So
yeah. Stay safe.
I will stick to saying the Wedge when it comes to Scottsdale and the vibe in Scottsdale.
I love it. All right. Who do you think's going to be better, you or your son in a few years?
Oh, 100% Tyler. 100%. He's already creeping up and surpassing me and doing things that, as a 5-year-old, that just blows my mind. So
I love it. I love it. Well, thank you. And hey, don't forget to check out Scottsdale City Lifestyle. There's a whole editorial about Skate It Forward Phoenix and everything that Blake and his organization's doing, and a great place to find out more information about the Scottsdale community. So Blake, thank you so much for what you do and for supporting our kids. Thank you, Alicia. Can I give a couple quick shout outs? Please do. All right. So just wanted to real quick say special thanks to Larry Zahn at Tiger 12, Cowtown Skateboard Shop, Sidewalk Surfer Skateboard Shop, everyone at Uncle Skate, the nonprofit, John from Psycho City Skateboards, Eric Griggs for all of your donations, Cole for all of the help you've shown me with woodworking, Danny Danicola of Locals Only, and just everyone in the Phoenix skateboarding community that's ever donated or reached out for help. We couldn't do what we want to do with this without the support of everyone involved. So thank you. And I'll have all the information in the description of this episode as well. So don't worry if you didn't catch it. And like you said, Blake, it takes a team to do anything in life. And when you have that support, you will have success. So congratulations to all of you involved. Thank you, Alicia. All right, stay tuned. We'll be right back with some calendar of events. Buying a home can be scary and sometimes frustrating. But all of that can go away with the right realtor. And that's where Sean Shackleton with the Shackleton Group is here for you. Sean has over 25 years experience in real estate. She's here to get you what you want and won't settle for less. She's experienced, knowledgeable, and understands this market, which these days is always changing. Take the stress out of your next home purchase by calling Sean at 480-734-7277. You can also find her at theshackletongroup.com. Well, as you just heard from Blake Rhodes and Skate It Forward Phoenix, there are plenty of opportunities to help give back to those kids. If you're like me, oh my gosh, these kids get to my heart, and I'll do whatever I can to help them reach their goals. And if it's just donating something, if you have old parts, or if your kids were skateboarders, get them involved. I have all the information here in the description of this episode. For those that are not skateboarders, because again, I'm not, my balance is not that good. There are some fun things going on this weekend. The Sour and Sweet Beer Fest is happening at the Clayton House. Come enjoy some local brews inside with fellow beer lovers. They also have free chucks out there too. Tickets start at $10 for the designated driver and go up to $65 for VIP events. That actually gets you in the door 2 hours early to the event. It is 21 and up, no kids allowed, so plan accordingly. If you are a car person, the Rock and Roll Car Show is happening this Saturday. It's the longest consecutive running Saturday cruise-in event in the USA and world. It's happening from 3 p.m. to 8 p.m. at the Scottsdale Pavilions on the reserve. So come out and enjoy some one-of-a-kind cars with like-minded car enthusiasts. If you're looking for a way to escape the heat, go try the Rainbow Riders hot air balloon. It is on my bucket list, so I can't wait to get a hold of them. You can go for sunsets or sunrise, but either way, get a beautiful view of the city that we love to call home. Don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast listening app. You can find us on Instagram and Facebook at Scottsdale Vibes Podcast, or check us out on scottsdalevibes.com. And don't forget that we are now the proud owners of Scottsdale City Lifestyle Magazine, where you can read even more about your favorite community and Blake Rhodes and his Skate It Forward Phoenix. Have a great week, Scottsdale. Keep vibing, and I'll see you around town.